today to talk to you about this work and these lessons. So I'm the Medicare for All team lead at National Nurses United on our campaign. I've had the great pleasure of working with the nurses and working in the single payer movement for the last 2 years. It's been so wonderful. And before that, I come to you from the Youth Climate Movement. I'm a 2016 graduate of the Green Corps School for Environmental Organizing, which is a Saul Alinsky-based organization. And so I come from a very grassroots-based background. But that said, I've been really excited to be part of this experiment for the last 2 years about big organizing in the non-electoral context in the single-payer movement. And we have some great lessons and wins and challenges that we're excited to share with you today. As Kelly just talked about, probably the biggest strength of big organizing is that we have seen in practice over the last year is that the enormous scale that big organizing has allowed us to reach, right? 20,000 doors have been knocked with volunteers on this campaign in the last year. That's a really big deal, right? You know how long it takes to knock like 40 doors? 20,000 doors is like a lot of doors. Okay, so we have literally hundreds of volunteers working with our campaign across the country and thousands that have taken at least one action with us. And I have never met most of them, right? If you're in this room and you're part of that, thank you. But that's really huge, right? And that is one of the reasons why we're so excited about staying committed to big organizing in the next year. Because as Kelly said, that's the scale we need to be, and we need to keep growing if we are going to overcome this enormous opposition and transform a fifth of our economy and win Medicare for All, which I think we can do, by the way. But one of the other core strengths that I want to talk to you about is the ability of this model to bring in and activate people quickly, right, who have not previously thought of themselves as activists. You saw that clip from the Bernie Sanders town hall on Fox News back in April. Those are the people that we could bring into this movement if we just give them a plan, right? We reach out to them and we give them an organizing plan. And that's what we're trying to do with this model. Even if these people, right, even if they think they want to get involved, they might not have taken action yet because they're not sure how to plug in or how to get started, right? And so there are all kinds of unorganized people out there who are ready to get to work now, and we can find them and we can activate them. And as Kelly said before, they do not have to be experts on healthcare policy, right? They just have to be people who are fed up with how high the premiums are. And they can be part of this movement, and we can put them to work. So one of those people for us this year is a volunteer that I want to talk to you about, and his name is Kent Haynes. So Kent is a public school teacher in Birmingham, Alabama, and he was not all that engaged in politics before this year. But Kent got onto our National Medicare for All campaign call that we had last November, almost a year ago. Whereas Kelly said we were joined by thousands of people across the country right after the midterm elections about the fight for Medicare for All in the brand new Democrat-controlled House, right? And we told everyone on that call that to launch this effort at the scale we were going to need to win, we were going to need everyone on the call to take on a really big job to organize an event called a barnstorm in their community. Which is an event, right, where we get folks together in a room, we talk about Medicare for All, we get everybody really fired up, and then we organize all of those people to then go out and canvass in the weekends afterwards. So it's a pretty big job to pull off one of these events, right? So we asked people on the call to press 1 on their phone's keypad if they could do this with us, if they could volunteer to host a barnstorm. And Kent was on the call, and he, along with hundreds of other people on the call, he pressed 1. And so then we followed up with him. And in the weeks afterwards, he got with us on a training call about how to organize a barnstorm. He read the materials. We talked to him one-on-one on the phone. He spread the word in his own community. And then in February, he hosted a barnstorm in Birmingham, Alabama at the downtown public library, and 50 people came. So Ken told us, right, afterwards, that he was waiting to be asked what to do, that he was waiting to be put to work doing the strategic and effective work that was, read out part of this email so that you can get a sense, because it's hard to read from the screen. So in the first paragraph, Ken told us, I just want to reach out to thank Ruddy, who's sitting in the front row, one of our awesome organizers, and everyone at NNU who helped with this event. I was just a frustrated teacher, casting about for a political campaign that felt like it could have a direct impact. I never planned any sort of political organizing when I pressed the one button on that November call, but thanks to the guides and especially to the one-on-one support phone calls, I got connected with the local Our Revolution group and was able to find enough volunteers to get the event publicized and planned together. Without big organizing and without nurses as trusted leaders and messengers, it might have taken Alabama healthcare activists months or even years to meet Ken, right, and get him activated at this level. And Ken is just one example of the many, many volunteers across the country that we're working with right now every single day. With big organizing, we can recruit and support hundreds of volunteers just like Ken, because we have built our campaign intentionally so that it can easily scale. And this is exactly what it has done. I want to give you just an example of what this looks like in practice. So, for example, when someone wants to host a canvas with our campaign, this is what happens. First, you get a written, in-depth guide from us on how to set up your canvas, what to print, how to recruit people to join you, and how to run the day of the event. You get the option to join us on a group conference training call. We go over the materials, we go over basic tips and tricks for how to canvas and host a canvas, and we always leave plenty of time for questions. We really love these group calls, and we've had hundreds of people join them at this point over the last year. And on every single one, we randomly call on people to introduce themselves, and this part is always really, really cool. People, we get a mix of people all over. We get people, from states like California, but we also get people from the Midwest and from the Deep South and from Hawaii and Alaska who are joining us to learn how to canvas. And, sometimes we get people on these calls who've been involved in the single-payer movement for a really long time and are just joining us to canvas, and that's great. We love that. But a lot of times, we also get people on these calls who introduce themselves, and they tell us in these intros that they have never done anything like this before, right? But they're stepping up to learn how to host something called a canvas because either they themselves or someone that they know has been devastated by our broken healthcare system. And they got on our email list, and they never really taken action, but we asked them directly to host a canvas in their community, and they decided, because they care deeply, to step up to the plate and figure out how to do this. That's happening every single day across the country. So, that's what happens, right? You get the option to join one of these group training calls, but you also get more support. You get the option to sign up for a 15-minute check-in on the phone with an organizer on our team. And if you have more questions after that, you always have the option to email us on our big team email inbox. It's info@medicareforall.org. You probably heard it before. And almost always you get a reply from us in that inbox within 24 hours. But we also, not only do we give you all that support, right, we also send email and text recruitment about your canvas to get other people to join you, and we will also debrief with you afterwards. So, I want to be really clear about the lessons here to take away. This is working for two reasons. Number one, because we're building these methods of support intentionally in order to scale, right? And number two, the support that we provide is centered around doing the work. We aren't hosting conference calls and talking to people one-on-one about whatever they want about healthcare. We're talking to them about canvassing, right? I wish we had time to talk to people about it. We don't have time. We have to win Medicare for all. So that's what we do, right? And so then when we do this way, we can talk to hundreds of people about canvassing. And then we have thousands of canvases. And then we have tens of thousands of doors knocked. This is how it works, right? That's a big part of the idea. And that we have a focused strategy that is centralized with focused tactics to win, and then we distribute the work. And when we're all doing that at the same time across the country, it comes together to build something the bigger. So, all of this has been pretty cool. And again, it's one of the reasons that we are so excited to continue this experiment of the model of big organizing in the non-electoral context. Okay. So, how distributed organizing hasn't always gone far enough. Thank you. Great, thank you. Okay, so, now, with all of that said, the good stuff, right? As Kelly mentioned, we also want to talk to you all today about what's not working. We don't learn and grow as a movement if we sit up here and only tell you about the good parts, right? And not about the challenges. So I'm going to go through some of those now. Avoiding burnout, engaging volunteers in constant campaigning with no clear deadline. So, one of the questions that Kelly posed earlier in our presentation is that we've been grappling with all year, every single day. How does big organizing work in the non-electoral context? So, again, this model cut its teeth on the Bernie 2016 campaign. And one of the reasons that it was able to work then so incredibly well is because that campaign had a clear deadline, right? And Medicare for All doesn't. We hope it's not far away, but, right, there's no clear deadline, right? We're asking people to engage in the long haul, potentially in a few years long campaign until we win. And one of the things that we all know as organizers in this room is that what often keeps people engaged in the non-electoral long-term organizing is relationships, right? It's that local community-based infrastructure where people can lean on one another for that emotional support in the long run. It's one of the reasons that local DSA chapters and our Revolution chapters across the country in many cases have been so successful at engaging people in this years-long work, right? And the big organizing model that we're trying is a bit different. As I just described, our intention in most cases is to reach people where there is not local infrastructure. And we're not interested or focused on necessarily building more infrastructure. But we've recognized this year that people need those local relationships, right? And that's one of the questions for us and one of the things that we're going to be answering for ourselves in the next year. Okay, so, number 2. The need for strategic, coordinated pressure campaigns. So, another thing that we know in this movement, and particularly in our campaign to move the House bill forward, right, is that we're not just trying to mobilize people and engage a ton of volunteers across the country in taking action. That's one of the things that we're trying to do, right? But we're also trying to push a number of House members to sign on to this bill. And especially, we're also trying to pressure key members of House leadership to call for more hearings, right? Call for this bill to move forward. Especially as time goes on, we all know that this is just going to become more and more of a priority. Now, half the members of Congress, half the Democrats in Congress in the House are now signed on to this bill, right? And we think that that's not unrelated to the fact that there has been a largely scaled, national, highly visible campaign that's present in hundreds of districts across the country because of big organizing. But those districts were mostly the easy ones. You have the hard ones left, right? And those left, they're going to require strategic, coordinated pressure campaigns to be moved to sign on. And it's crucial that we do this, right? Because it's crucial that we keep getting more co-sponsors. We know that that's part of the work, right? So we recognize that we're going to need to adjust this going forward and do more of both. And so I'm going to talk more about that in just a minute, what that's going to look like for us. Okay, so organizing versus mobilizing, reaching unorganized communities. Before I get to the kind of new model we see going forward, the last thing I want to recognize is this last point that to us is also related to why we need to keep developing and evolving the distributed organizing model going forward. We have talked today about how distributed organizing helps us reach unorganized and unactivated people. But there are people who already identify themselves as single-payer supporters, right? What we aren't doing necessarily yet is reaching unorganized, unactivated communities, right? Constituencies of people that are not always considering themselves to be single-payer supporters. We know in this room that one of the deep challenges that faces us collectively as a movement is that more often than not, those that self-identify as supporters of Medicare for All are often white, educated, and older. We know that to truly win, we have to build a movement that is made up of and led by a base that is broad, diverse, and working class. Right? And so distributed organizing, it can mobilize, it can activate, it can organize those who are with us. But we have to get more people to that table. And we have to do that better, right? And that's another challenge for us that we're going to be addressing in the coming year. Okay, so, next slide. There we go, okay. How an evolving, blended model of distributed organizing and local grassroots coalition organizing can help us win. So, we know that we still need maximum participation and a way to scale quickly to get a mass number of people plugged in. We know that is what has worked with our campaign, and we see it as a crucial part of the strategy going forward. We also know that distributed organizing gives us a way to, the ability to create huge, visible moments, right, that capture the attention of the national press and elected officials in Washington, D.C., which is exactly what has happened this year. As Kelly described earlier, two big moments for us this year were our week of action in February and our August recess work in mid-August. Both received national press attention and caught the attention of those inside the DC Beltway because we had everyone do a highly coordinated strategic tactic all at the same time in communities across the country. So, we want to keep those elements, right? We want to keep those elements that make distributed organizing such a game changer for this movement. But we also have to grapple with the challenges that I just talked about in the slide before. So going forward, how can we do both? That's the question at hand. There we go. Okay, so I want to describe to you a case study that you've already heard about this weekend. It's a case study that for us this summer captured what we see as an example of the potential here. The example of a blended, evolving model of distributed organizing combined with local grassroots coalition organizing. So, as many people in this room know, earlier this year, Representative Hakeem Jeffries from Brooklyn, New York, was identified as a top pressure target on this campaign. He is the 5th ranking Democrat in the House. He is now the chair of the House Democratic Caucus, and he is widely considered to be in line for a future potential Speaker of the House. He is considered by many to be progressive, but he has not yet signed on. He had not signed on yet in support of Medicare for All. Now, we were not convinced that Jeffries was going to sign on and co-sponsor the bill, but we knew that as a key member of leadership, it was at least important to make him feel the heat within his district to support the bill moving forward in Congress for a fair process of hearings and markup. So I'm going to talk to you for a second about what happened in Brooklyn. Now, I want to be clear that you cannot talk about the Hakeem Jeffries case study without talking about New York City DSA. So, New York City DSA identified Hakeem Jeffries early on as a target, and they met with his office in February. They drove supporters, as we did at NMU, to his town halls all spring to ask him questions directly about Medicare for All. And all summer, they canvassed every single week in neighborhoods, at block parties, at concerts, at farmers markets. Through this work, they established local relationships with community-based groups like book clubs and tenants unions and church groups, merchants associations, local NAACP chapters, healthcare advocacy organizations, and more, right? And then, when they made those relationships and those connections, they invited those people to come out to political education events and town halls on Medicare for All. So in addition to that work that New York City DSA was doing, in late June, an even larger coalition came together to to focus on him as a target, right? A diverse coalition that included Campaign for New York Health and most notably the leadership of the wonderful Katie Robbins, the Center for Popular Democracy and Darius Gordon and their New York City affiliate Make the Road New York, Physicians for a National Healthcare Program New York chapter, Sickle Cell Thalassemia Patients Network, the Callan Ward Community Health Center, which is focused on health services for New York City's LGBTQ+ community, the Applicant Services community, Our Revolution, National Nurses United, New York State Nurses Association, and more, right? This coalition came together and decided that its main tactic of the summer would be to plug into NMU's National Distributed August Recess Plan and build up to a People's Assembly in August in Jeffrey's district. In our campaign at NMU, we had been asking volunteers, and we've been training them all summer, in districts across the country where reps had, Democratic reps had still not co-sponsored the bill. We were training them to organize events that we called People's Assemblies on Medicare for All, to bring together community members, right, to talk about who the rep was and why they hadn't yet signed on, and to give folks in the room next action steps and start planning for how they were going to increase pressure on the rep. And this event is exactly what was planned and what took place in Brooklyn on August 8th. And about 150 people came. Because, yes, in part because of the distributed emailing and texting that NMU was doing through our distributed campaign, but also because every group in that coalition did hand-to-hand turnout of their members and the supporters they made connections with. And so in that room, we talked about Medicare for All and about Jeffries and why he hadn't yet signed on, and we gave people in the room a whole list of actions that they could take in the following weeks to go out and talk to their friends and family, to knock on doors, to drive calls to his office, and more. And we posted all kinds of photos like this one on social media, and we tagged him in them, right? And then, 3 weeks later, to the surprise of everyone in the country, Hakeem Jeffries signed on to the bill. So this, in our opinion, is a model that can and did work, right? One that brings together the best elements of local grassroots coalition-based organizing where it is needed and distributed organizing where it works best. This is the work that we want to continue in the next year. So, where do we go from here? This is the last thing I want to talk to you about today. So, the last thing I just want to give you all is a glimpse of what we see at NMU as the next stage in our campaign entering the next year. So, first, for all the reasons that we have covered in this presentation today, we are deeply impressed and excited at NMU about the potential of the model of reorganizing, and we will continue to be committed to it. Second, we plan to continue to develop in many districts where needed the blended model, right, that I just talked about before. That's what we want to do in many cases. And as a national campaign overall, we recognize that going forward is going to require a layered strategy of organizing, where different approaches will work in different ways in different communities, because not every community is the same. In some communities, there will continue to be individual people, like campaigns from Birmingham, who are motivated to get involved and do not have local infrastructure yet to plug into, and they can get directly involved with our campaign now, and they can get to work. And in other communities, we're going to need to build deeper, long-term pressure campaigns. And overall, like I said, we're going to need to work to bring more people to the table overall. Specifically, among the many, many projects we always have going on at NMU, we have 2 that I want to talk to you about today. Actually 3, but one of them is not on the slide. So, number 1, we're going to be focused on developing this blended model of pressure and distributed campaigning together in 6 key House districts that we've identified across the country. If you want to talk to me more about that, come find me later. We're excited about that. And number 2, we'll be continuing the distributed model, and we look forward to sharing more with all of you about really soon about our next big, visible, coordinated action, which will be a massive national weekend of action, we think, sometime in late January. There are flyers. Eric standing up has a stack of flyers. Ryan at the front has a stack of flyers. They'll hand them out. You can get flyers. If you are not from California and can't make it there, please share this flyer and the information on it with people that you know. If you're from other parts of the state of California, that we're going to have buses, you can find the information on those buses on the link that's on the flyer. If you want to share the event on Facebook, I'm going to give you a short link, but it's case sensitive, so please bear with me. So if you want to write it down or put this in your phone, you can go to bit.ly, so bit.ly/capital SF, lowercase rally, capital FB. So capital SF, lowercase rally, capital. That's the Facebook event. Please go to that link, share it with your friends, and come join us in San Francisco if you can. I think that's it. I don't think we have time for the group activity. We were going to do a group activity to do some campaign planning. We've run out of time, and we want to let you all get to dinner and drinks. I think that's it. So thank you everyone for
Alright folks, it's about time to stop thinking about organizing the start partying. But I just want to remind you, the final morning of the conference tomorrow is not here. It is at the Benson Hotel. We're going to be going breakfast from 8 to 9, 9 to noon program. We'll get you all out of here by noon tomorrow. Another thing, make sure you clear. We're going to be shutting down the church, so make sure you get all of your stuff out of that hallway. Because you don't want to